I've just received this Questar field model telescope on an eBay purchase that was a pretty good deal. I put in a lowball bid and bid in the last few seconds, and nobody outbid me, presumably because of that case back there that has degraded foam and looked really nasty in the auction, and looks like just like a mold growth or something like that. So I've just taken it out of the case, and I'm going to assess it so I can determine if it's worth keeping, which I'm pretty sure it is. So I've already taken off the lens cap here and taken a peek down the optics, and I'm going to let you take a look down in there. Everything looks beautiful and shiny, of course, in this kind of a view. And I use a bright LED flashlight to spy in there. What I'm looking for is any evidence of kind of whitish clouding in the corrector. That's the lens in the front. I'm looking on the mirror for any evidence of yellowing of the coating or any kind of bright silvery tinfoil looking patches that look more white than just bright mirror. Normally, when you look into a scope with this kind of bright lighting, you expect it to look dirty, nasty, and this really doesn't. So this is very clean. I should note this is a broadband model, which means it has some performance enhancements, but it can't be recoated. So if the coatings on these optics fail, you throw them away, which means you basically throw away the telescope. It's a little bit like having a performance car that you can't change the tires on. It's high performance tires give you superior results, but you're stuck with them. And normally it lasts a long time, but I've seen lots of failures. It came with the lens cap, which is nice. And one little detail you look for on the cap is whether it's properly timed, and that little logo, when it attaches, is in the right orientation, and this is, happily. I did notice that the tube turns pretty easily here. That's not the lens cap. You can see the eyepiece moving. There are some adjustment brakes that simply need to be tightened up a little bit, and that's pretty easy. I'll show you on the other side. So the brakes are located on either side of the eyepiece holder, and also down below at the mirror. There's two screws, top and bottom, for that. Next, we have the functional operation of the 2-power Barlow that's in there and the finder. And so we can verify that by removing this eyepiece holder, which should be removable. So I've just verified that this is fine. The other thing that I want to verify with this is that the top collar rotates relative. Oftentimes you'll get them that are stuck, and that can be kind of a bear to take apart. The eyepiece needs to be removable as well. And I can inspect through there to make sure it's not filled with dirt. Everything's cleanable. Actually, it looks really pretty dirty and nasty from this side. So a case with a lot of foam degradation is very likely to have a lot of mess inside of optics. Thankfully, so far, hopefully, there isn't any inside of the telescope. None in the main optical tube. So I can peek down in here and show you what I'm doing. So I can look down in here and observe. There's the Barlow, and it looks to be nice and clean. Looks about like new to me. And you can observe the prism, which just looks absolutely pristine to me. So we're in really good shape. From here I can look down into the finder. I'm seeing some smudginess on the finder lens. So the finder mirror has some dirt on it that's visible on the surface. It'll probably clean up pretty nicely. You can also remove this axial rear cap, this axial port. Sometimes those are stuck and it's a challenge to remove it. It has a black paint on the back with a few little scratches, but it looks like it's in good shape to me. A peek into the telescope. You actually see all the way out the front here. And the action of these levers is nice and smooth. Everything looks appropriately clean or greasy inside. And so this seems like a new scope, except for a little bit of dirtiness. And then overall, I just do a mechanical inspection. This has got some dirt on it. Obviously, we've got that sticker that ought to be able to be removed with the right kind of solvent. I look for scratches and pitting on the black anodized aluminum. I look for dents on the dew shield, scratches, things like that weren't expected in the deal. And this all looks very nice. This shows you how dirty that eyepiece looks, if you can see that inside there. And that might actually help a little bit. This should be okay. If you're new to a Questar, the focusing knob can be a little small cause for anxiety, only because there are so many turns, maybe it's 50 turns from one end to the other, that you wonder, is this thing ever going to focus? And if you're past the point of focus and going the wrong direction, you're going to have a little stress about it. But the answer is I've never seen one that didn't focus, and then you can assess the quality of the image. In this case, I have it focused, and you can see how far away this is here. I have it focused at a chimney across the street that's maybe 200 feet away or 300 feet, I'm not sure. And it's about 10 turns out from being up against the housing, and it probably has another 20 or 30 turns if I'm going to focus on something that's very close. So right now I have the finder lever is down, so we're in finder mode, and we have the Barlow lever left so that it's out of the field. When the Barlow's in place, you can't use the finder because it won't focus. So this is finder mode with everything outward, and then we'll flip that up for telescope mode, which will have the 2-power option on the Barlow lever. And so I make sure that I can focus the finder nicely at any distance. And I do that, as you can see, by turning this ring. And I'm looking at trees about 15 feet away from me, right in front of me there, and I get nice sharp images with this at kind of the max. And so if I move it back down to the chimney across the street, I can bring it back in, and I get what appear to be very nice, I just call it satisfying images. And so with the chimney in the center of the view, I cross my fingers that everything is aligned, and it is. So this one is really right on track. And I get satisfyingly sharp images, just as you'd expect for daylight. Of course, the only real test is to get it out under the stars. And I'm looking through double pane windows with solar film on them, so I don't expect good images. I just want to make sure it looks confident enough to bring outside, and it does. Other little things that I noticed on this: there's one little missing screw down here of the 4 finder adjustment screws, and the paint on the control box is normally a vulnerable point where you see some wear and tear and chips and scratches, and there's nothing you can do about it. This one's in nice great shape. It's a very shiny and glossy. It's got a little scratch right here. I can live with that. Cosmetically, these machined aluminum knobs, that's getting a little bright, isn't it? This one has some roughness. That aluminum is vulnerable to corrosion when it's exposed to bad foam, or old bad foam. Apparently modern foam doesn't have that problem, but and so these are so. You can replace these knobs for, the factory will send you replacement ones for, I don't know, maybe 20 bucks a piece or something like that. So if anything bothers you, you can do that. And the eyepiece holder also is bare aluminum. It has some roughness that I may be able to just clean up a little bit too. But it's a good scope. The next thing we need to look at is, what does a star look like through it? And for that, I will wait until darkness falls. And primarily when we're doing that, we look for whether we see the star with what's known as the airy disk, A-I-R-Y, and you can find that on Wikipedia, what it looks like. It should just be a little disk with a little ring and another little ring, and some of those can be broken rings, but you want it to focus to a tight little circle, as opposed to astigmatism will give you focusing to a bar diagonal this way and then a bar diagonal that way, and maybe kind of a square four-leaf clover at the midpoint if you have some optical problems that you'll want to reject the scope. The other thing that we do with the star test is we focus it out away from the star, we focus it in beyond the focus, and that you look for concentric images as that focus blooms out. The star needs to be centered in the field of view, but you want to make sure that things don't look eccentric and off-center as things are defocused. And that's about the whole thing. I have absolute confidence that I'm not going to reject this. I'm going to keep it. It was a bargain, and it's going to be in the contest for the best of my field models, which gets to have the honor of sitting in a duplex mount and be a useful working telescope. Next time we get a mounted model, we'll talk about how to assess the drives and mechanics of the telescope mount.